50 years ago, a group of protesters dealt with police violence as they tried to march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama, demanding the right to vote for black people. On March 7th, 1965, 17 of those people were hurt on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, a day known as Bloody Sunday. That day was remembered this weekend as thousands marched once again at that bridge. Among them, Arkansas Republican Congressman French Hill, who joins me now to talk about the experience. You know, when I found out you were there, the first thing came to my mind was an Arkansas Republican congressman is in Selma.
Right.
Why?
Well, Don, I was touched. I have a lot of respect for my friend John Lewis, congressman from Georgia, and for all the people who had the courage and the tenacity to march in those days. Perhaps Selma's the most famous instance, and we were there to commemorate 50 years. Yeah. But all those pioneers and fighters for civil rights were brave, dedicated Americans.
There were thousands. You said maybe even 20,000 people there. What was it like for you now? I mean, we can talk about what happened 50 years ago, but you're being a part of this commemoration. How did that feel?
Well, it was touching to stand on the notorious Edmund Pettus Bridge with John Lewis 50 years later. Now, John is a civil gentleman of 75 years old, and we were transported back to when he was 25 and was struck and knocked out cold by a billy club on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and it was a very touching day to be with Representative Lewis. On
Saturday, President Obama spoke. You heard his speech. I heard portions of it, and by some, you know, this is the best speech he's ever given. That's what some people said. What do you think?
Well, I think the president used it as a place to talk about how far we've come in 50 years. We have removed what was legal separation. We have an African American as the President of the United States. And to talk about how much we've accomplished as a people in 50 years, but to talk about how America's still a work in progress. And I found that an inspiring, not a negative part of the president's talk, but an inspiration that we can always do better as an American people, that we are a work in progress.
And what I wanted to ask you is, by having this commemoration, what does it change? What does it do in terms of moving civil rights forward? Because there are some who will tell you that there are just as many problems today as there were 50 years ago.
Well, there's no doubt our society is filled with problems, racial and otherwise. And you can't tackle problems that you can't talk about. And I think the president's done a marvelous job of identifying this as a challenge for our country and telling us we have further to go to realize Dr. King's dream. And I think the crowd at Selma was inspirational because of the number of young people who were in the crowd, who were seeing living history, something that we all want to see and talk about the future of our country. It was inspirational.
Congressman Hill, I know you were the only Arkansas congressman or senator who was there. And you were part of a bipartisan delegation, which is very nice to hear. How can we take what was there being bipartisanship and move it into Washington so that we see more things get done and Republicans and Democrats working together?
Well, it all starts with communication and finding common ground on how to take a serious challenge in our country, whether foreign or domestic, and move it forward. And you do that with civil conversation.
Can that be done? Because it hasn't happened in a long time.
Well, we've got 240 years of vigorous discourse in this country, starting with the formation of our country and our own debates about the Constitution. They've always been vigorous. My point's been that they should be civil, and we should see where we want to go and lead us in that direction. And it takes both sides to do that. A guy like John Lewis is somebody who brings people together.
Okay. Congressman, thank you so much for being here and sharing your experience in Selma.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.